there with Team USA and the men's basketball team. We're doing a recap of the offseason, especially what happened in the Atlantic Division and how that will carry forward into the new season. So without further ado, let's hit the intro and let's get into episode 316.
Welcome to the Atlantic Files, where humor and vibes collide. That's the Sixers, the king of the court. Jokes that hit you one more. Atlantic Division, we own the scene. Comedy, food talk, every routine. Mike Bash, Clausen, Fischbein on the mic, making you laugh every episode right. Game is strong, court to kitchen. We're never wrong. You know what time it is. It's time for the Atlantic Files.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Atlantic Files, the number one podcast on the number one division in the NBA, brought to you by the Underdog Sports Podcast Network. As always, your hosts, myself, Alex Fischbein, and we got Mike Bash. What's going on, Mike?
What up? What up? How you doing?
I'm good.
To quote the great Marcus Peters, I said we're not done yet. Or I think we ain't done yet.
Damn right. Job's not finished, to quote the great Kobe Bryant. But it's been a long-ass time. I mean, I was looking back at the videos. It's been like a month and a half. We haven't been talking too much basketball, not because of lack of basketball, but more so because all three of us have been insanely busy, it feels like. Dennis, obviously, still too busy for little old us. So we'll get him on here at some point. But
yeah, it's magical. Every time I come on the show or come on the pod, he magically is busy or tired, or I think he's ducking. That's what I think it is.
He doesn't want to have those debates with you. He just doesn't feel like doing it.
Exactly.
You told him that the 2024 NFL draft was weak one too many times, and he was like, "You know what? Fuck it, I'm out."
Exactly. Well, yeah, he hates
NBA.
I know. Yeah, he says he doesn't know college, and then hates when people who know college tell him anything about college.
That's why everybody loves Dennis. That's why everyone loves Big Sexy. So, but I will say, for those who have been keeping up with the show, yes, we are back. The show is not dead. We'll be going through the entire this entire season, and we'll be going now through the rest of the offseason up until training camp and preseason and so on and so forth. And this week, we'll also get into some odds at bovadasportsbook.com. So we'll check in on some of that too for any of you sports bettors out there. There's been interesting stuff, such as odds for the presidential election. And we're not politicians on this podcast, but if it comes to making some money, I mean, I might throw something down. I don't know. But how's sports life been for you, Mike? How's your Giants fandom feeling? How's your Yankees fandom feeling?
Well, the Yankees are good. The vibes are high. The Giants, I don't know. They seem like they're going to be in for a long season. I'm really, you know what I'm focused on. I'm focused on Rutgers basketball, baby. Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper. That's all I care about. I don't care about the Nets. I don't care about the Giants, the Yankees, Devils, Rutgers basketball. That's my top three right now.
It's convenient to, not have to worry about it.
Exactly.
But I feel that. I mean, I'm excited for the Ravens. Not even equally. I'm way more excited for the Sixers after the big offseason they turned in. And college-wise, Pitt basketball, honestly, I am pretty excited for Pitt basketball. I know they're not going to be a national championship contender, but they're on an upward trajectory as of the last few seasons. So I can't hate that.
Yeah, I saw you take Bub Carrington 6 overall in the Dynasty draft.
Of course.
So that's the reason I had pick 3 and pick 10 or something like that, or pick 13. I ended up trading it to someone for I don't even know who I got. I made so many different trades, but who the hell did I get? Oh, I think that's how I got DeJounte Murray. I
Oh,
traded
okay.
3 and 13 or whatever for DeJounte Murray, and I wanted Bob Carrington at 13, but I knew there was no way he was getting there with you sitting there lurking. So
Definitely not. I was planning on picking Bub Carrington literally the entire time.
yeah,
When I was working deals with Nas, there was multiple times where he asked me for that pick, but also was trying to move up. And at the time, he told me he was trying to get what's his name from UConn that went to Portland.
Klingon.
Klingon, yeah. He was telling me that's the guy he was aiming for the entire time. He was like, "That's what I want. That's what I want. That's what I want." Draft comes around and he starts asking me to trade back. But then I was like, "Yo, my guy is still on the board. I don't need to trade back unless you're telling me that you're going to draft it." And he was like, "Well, who's your guy?" I was like, I'm not an idiot. I'm not telling you." And I was like, "So you do your thing, and then I'll let you know if I want to trade this pick." And then he picks Topich, and I was like, "Perfect. I don't need to trade anything."
Yeah, and now he's trying to trade Topich around like he's the second coming of LeBron James.
Exactly. He tried to trade me Topich right after I picked Bub too, and then I was just like, "Dude, the guy literally just tore his ACL. Like, and he's on the Thunder. We don't know what's gonna happen with him."
Exactly. Yeah, and speaking of trades and speaking of Dennis, I feel like he did something in the football league. Oh, Dennis just continues to amaze me with how bad he can be at making trades. Um,
Which trade
In
are you talking
football,
about this time?
in football he trades away his future for Keon Coleman. So there's that.
I
But he
mean,
can't even. He's not. You know what? He's not here to defend himself. He's not here to you know prove to us that he knows anything. So I won't beat him up too much.
I was about to say you gotta let him at least have a little bit of the debate. But I will. I mean, he did make a decent deal with Doug to get T.J. Hawkinson and Brock Purdy. I don't hate
He
that
did.
deal at all.
He did.
I don't know if that says more about him or more about Doug, but it's neither here nor there. I'm happy with my waiver wire additions. I really wanted Junior Colson, but Derek beat me by $1 on him.
You were a big spender on Jordan Whittington.
Oh yeah, I'm a big Jordan Whittington guy.
Okay. I got Sam Darnold, so there's that.
I mean,
I walked out of the draft with Roma Dunze at 3 and Brock Bowers at 9. I mean, you guys cannot let me get that.
I don't understand how everyone else let him get to 9.
I was literally between Bowers and a Dunze at 3. I tried to move with Dennis. I tried to finagle Dennis, and that's why he's mad at me. I tried to move back from 3 to 4 to force him to take this guy, but give up something to get his guy. He didn't want to do that. So I was like, fine. I was like, I'll move back to 4 and take Bowers.
Okay.
But you got to give me something for it. And he was like, no. I was like, fine, then I'm taking a Dunze. And he's like, screw you. You're trying to screw me over. I was like, no, if I want a Dunze, but I'll gladly take Bowers, but you got to compensate me for taking Bowers. And then Bowers falls to me at 9. I'm like, okay. Thank you, Dennis, for taking Jonathan Brooks and Keon Coleman. So you come here for the basketball. You get fantasy football stories. The Atlantic Files just covers the globe here.
Exactly. But also, I find it weird that Doug went for Jaden Daniels there when at the time, like, he didn't make that trade yet for what he did with Dennis to get like Dak and everything.
Yeah.
And he obviously could have used Brock Bowers. I don't know who is it. Oh, actually his tight end is Dalton Kincaid. So, I mean,
well, he made that trade with Aaron, which I don't understand why Aaron made that trade, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I didn't understand that either. I'm trying to trade Aaron in our basketball league. I'm trying to trade him Terry Rozier for something good since I know he's a Miami Heat fanboy.
Yeah. I'm trying to keep Aaron from quitting the football league, so if he approaches you about a trade, go easy on him.
I've worked with him many times on a trade.
Yeah.
Whenever he does actually talk to me about the trade itself. But anyway, with that being said, we got a comment and it is a spam comment from Facebook, so don't need to do anything with that. So let's do the Olympics recap first, and then we'll jump into the NBA offseason. So obviously we know Team USA, the men's team wins gold. The women's team also won gold. They were
Shout out Kalia Cooper, Pride at Rutgers University.
And North Philly.
Nobody cares about Philly.
So we have a connection there. Just throwing that out there. But yeah, the women's team was not, I mean, except for the gold medal game, nothing was really close for them. So that wasn't much of an issue. But the men's team, obviously, the men's team, the game of the entire Olympics was US versus Serbia. Like by far. That semifinal game was absolutely ridiculous. I was watching it just like holding my breath, thinking that US was actually going to lose that game. There was many times in that game that I was like, they're done. Like, this is over. They're down 15. Every time they make a couple shots, Serbia makes a couple shots right back and gets some turnovers. And it looked bad. Jason Tatum wasn't even playing. Steve Kerr didn't even like decide to throw him out there to just try to will a run in there. I was like, yeah, this is all bad. And then comes Steph Curry and LeBron and Joel and Durant, and somehow, some way, they win that game. Did you watch it live?
I watched the end live, but I didn't get to watch most of the game.
Oh, okay. That was probably the first time I've ever watched a game on my phone where, like, I specifically wasn't going to my car when I was already done work, but I wasn't going to my car because I didn't want to have to watch it while I was driving.
Yeah. Well, that's what I did. I sat in my car and watched the end of the game.
Oh, okay. And I've never been glued to a game on my phone like that ever.
Yeah.
And I wish that was the gold medal game because that probably would have went down as like one of the best games of all time. But when it comes to every time I watched France and they struggled, Rudy Gobert was on the floor. They took Rudy Gobert off the floor. France started winning games. Explain to me why that is.
Spacing.
But even when
you don't need his defense
Wemby wasn't on the floor.
When Wemby wasn't on the floor?
Yeah, like there were times where Gobert was on and Wemby was off, and they still looked bad.
Because of spacing, because Gobert can't shoot. And that's what FIBA is all about, is space and pace. And when you have Wemby on the floor, you don't need to worry about Gobert's defense because Wemby's 7'5". And
I agree that Wemby's the better player.
It's all pace and space without him, and that's why they were excelling. Because France is going to be a problem in 4 years because they got a point guard. They got a point guard coming, Nolan Traore. That's what they're missing is a true shot creator, and they got one coming in Traore. Koulibaly's going to be 23, 24, 23 probably. Wemby's going to be 23. I mean, I don't know if they'll be able to beat the USA with that team, but they very well could have like a very 2032 in Brisbane's probably going to be their best chance to win a gold medal than this past Olympics. But that team. I mean, France is coming.
But like some of their other top guys are going to be too old at that point too. Like
Yeah,
Batum's not going to be there.
but Batum isn't like Batum's a replaceable player at this point.
He's a good glue guy though. And then if you look at some of the other guys on there, like Fournier will be too old. He's not going to be there. I didn't even realize Nando De Colo was still playing.
I didn't even realize Nano De Colo was French.
Yeah, I thought he was Argentinian for some reason.
That's what I was thinking. I thought he played for Argentina. I'm gonna look that up.
I'm looking at one of his pages right now, and it says he was born in Saint Catherine, France. It says he played in Spain, France, Russia, Turkey, and the NBA. But he's been on the French national team from 2008 to 2024. Did not realize that. But he's definitely not going to be on the team. I didn't even know the Matthew Strazel guy that was their point guard, the 6'1" shorter guy. He apparently plays at AS Monaco basket right now, so like he's not an NBA guy. Yabusele is now coming back to the NBA. He's going to the Sixers, but
saw that.
He is 1 year younger than I am. So by that time, by the next Olympics, he'll be like 33. And the Olympics after that will be 37. So, like, I don't know what he's going to be.
Yeah, but there's going to be more guys coming.
I mean, I'm sure they'll have some others. But, yeah, I mean, Gobert's probably... I'd be surprised if Gobert was on the next Olympic team, too, because he's already... 32, 33, something like that. So that's also up. But they don't even need him. That's my main point is he gets voted Defensive Player of the Year. What is it? 4 times now? 3 times?
Yeah.
And every time the man gets exposed, either whether it's defense, whether it's the playoffs, whether it's the Olympics, whatever, he gets game plan straight off the floor. His offense isn't good enough to stay on the floor. His defense, and this is one thing that I will agree with, like a lot of the ex-NBA players. I think it was Chauncey Billups who talked about it. He was like, what defensive player do you know, defensive player of the year, do you know where people specifically attack him on offense? Yeah. You're not attacking these other guys. Like you at the time, you weren't attacking Draymond Green head on. You just weren't. Like he was shutting down everything. You weren't attacking Jaren Jackson Jr. because he was blocking everything. And even like when you go back to some of the older guys like Ben Wallace and Dikembe Mutombo and some of these other guys, like you're not going right at them. You're doing everything to avoid them. But Rudy Gobert, the game plan is go right at him.
Yeah.
It just continues to fuel my narrative that he's ridiculously overrated. But I guess we'll see how that works out with Minnesota. If I'm Minnesota, I'm trying to keep Karl Anthony Towns and trade Rudy Gobert out of there ASAP.
Yeah, but how many first-round picks are you going to recoup?
Probably not many. But if you can get like a first-round pick or 2 and then a solid player, I think that's good enough.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a weird position because, like, I feel like he's really good against guys that are more like traditional centers, right? Like, I want to say like an Embiid or maybe like a Sabonis or something, but any sort of guy like Bam or Anthony Davis that could take him off the dribble, like he can't guard those guys anymore. Yeah, like if they drive right at him and he's in the paint, he's still a good shot blocker, still a great rim protector, but he's not, he's an elite rim protector. He's not an elite defender.
Right. But even then, like in theory, he should be guarding the traditional centers a little bit better. But guys like Embiid and Sabonis are dropping crazy amounts of points on him and beating him every time.
Yeah.
like, sure, he looks good against, like the Knicks when they had just Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson, but like that's no one to write home about. But yeah, I agree. It's just they're very overrated. I'm surprised Germany actually lost to France. I really thought Germany was going to win that game. They're another one that I think should be pretty good as time moves forward because Germany keeps getting some decent players. Franz Wagner is still entering his prime. But obviously Dennis Schroeder's getting a little bit older, so that's a little bit of a detriment for them. But
Speaking of Franz Wagner, I think Nas wants to trade you for him.
nah, I'm good. Especially because I know he's going to offer me some old person, and I'm going to be like, that doesn't fit my team at all. So I'm good.
I think he traded away John Morant already, but I think it was John Morant he was going to offer you.
Oh, even worse. He tried to offer me Joel Embiid, and I was just like, I love Embiid, but I'm not taking on the risk of him getting hurt.
Yeah.
So with that being said, we can move on to the NBA off-season recap. And I just want to say right now, before we get into any of the moves that have happened,
Sean Marks is the best GM in the NBA.
I mean, I don't know about that. I feel like you have to give best GM to Presti.
Whatever.
You thought I was going to say Morey at first.
I did.
But before we get into all the moves, like just to show where the hive mind is at about the league, according to Bovada, right now Boston has the highest odds to win the championship next year at plus 300. Then you have Oklahoma City in second at plus 625. Then the Sixers at plus 825. The Nuggets at plus 850. And then the Knicks at plus 950. So that's your top 5 in odds to win the championship going into next season. And I can bring up this right here, which was a little off-season tracker that the NBA.com put together. So here we have the Celtics and the Nets because we're going to go over Atlantic Division first, as we normally do. Boston pretty much stayed the same. They didn't add anybody new. They just re-signed a bunch of people, and they got rid of Svi, which...
Mikhailuk.
Yeah.
For those that don't know how to pronounce it.
What's his nationality?
I want to say it's like Armenian or something. Svi Mikhailuk. Ukrainian.
Ah, okay. Has Ukraine ever even made the Olympics for basketball?
Doubtful.
I was about to say, I don't remember ever hearing about them or seeing them in the Olympics for basketball.
They have Alex Len, Svi Mikhailuk, and this guy who's on, I don't know what team he's on, the Knicks, by the name of Dmitro Skapinistev.
Is he like
three
a two-way player?
active? Yeah, he's three. He played 2 games last year.
Oh, okay. That's one trivia question that I would not have gotten because I have never heard that name before. But yeah, so Boston pretty much looking the exact same. And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if they could repeat because the roster they built is just absolutely ridiculous. There was 3 of them were on the Olympic team. You could obviously make the argument that Jaylen Brown should have been on the Olympic team as well. And they still have Porzingis. They still have Al Horford. Sam Hauser has been good off the bench. Luke Cornett has been good when people get hurt. Even Keita has been good. Xavier Tillman that they brought in from Memphis has been good. Like literally this whole team is just a well-oiled machine, and there's not much else about Boston that like I can really say other than like as long as they're healthy, they should be the favorite.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So,
I mean,
we'll see how
it
turns out.
was weird because I felt like Porzingis got them over the hump, and then I realized like last finals run they barely needed Porzingis. Like he was hurt for most of the finals run.
Yeah, exactly. And he was gonna try to come back a little earlier, and they were like, "Nah, just take a seat." And by the way, also on Bovada, the Atlantic Division currently holds the highest odds for which division is going to win the NBA Finals. They're at plus 125, and the Northwest Division is at plus 225. So they're like,
is Denver in the Northwest?
Yes.
Okay, so it's
Denver and Oklahoma City.
Okay, and then the Celtics and the Knicks and the and the Sixers. You have three legitimate chances there.
Of course.
So, 2.5. I mean, the Sixers are not going to win.
Okay. After you just said they're legitimate, then you got to take it back.
Well, I forgot they got Joel Embiid in the middle, so you know.
Okay. If you had to guess, who had the higher odds between Brooklyn and Toronto?
Toronto.
They're actually tied at plus 100,000.
Yeah. Well, unless Nick Claxton turns into primal LeBron James, I don't think we're winning.
Yeah, probably not. Speaking of the Brooklyn Nets, for those not watching on YouTube, so they re-signed Nick Claxton, re-signed Keon Johnson and Trendon Watford. They also added Bojan Bogdanovic, Shake Milton, Killian Hayes, and Zaire Williams. And they lose Keita Bates-Diop, and obviously the biggest one, Mikal Bridges, heads to the Knicks to continue to form the Villanova Knicks.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm happy. Killian Hayes, tank commander, is being brought in. The race for Ace is on. Let me repeat. The race for Ace is on. And if we don't get Ace, or we can capture the flag. And if we don't capture the flag, at least we'll settle for Dylan Harper. But let me tell you.
What if you're outside the top three? What would you do?
Find a bridge. Not Mikal.
What about Miles?
I don't know. If we don't walk out of the draft without Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey, or Cooper Flag, I will be livid. And that's no shot on VJ Edgecombe, Nolan Traore, Kalman Malawak. That's no shot on those three guys, because those three guys are very good players in their own right. But I want one of the first three, not one of the second three.
If you had to guess the top five in terms of odds to go first overall, who do you think they would be?
Flag is 1. Bailey's 2. Edgecombe's 3. Harper's 4, and Traore is 5.
You got 1, 2, and 4 correct.
So 3 is Traore.
Yes.
And 5 is Edgecombe.
No.
Malawak.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so on Bovada right now, Cooper Flag is the heavy favorite at minus 500. Then you got Bailey at plus 325, Traore at plus 850, Harper at plus 1200. How do you say his name? Malawak?
Malawak.
Okay.
From South Sudan.
Plus 1500. Jaleel Bethea is actually 6th at plus 1600.
From Archbishop Wood.
Yep. And then Edgecombe at plus 2000, Hugo Gonzalez at plus 2200, and Trey Johnson at plus 2500.
And Dennis doesn't believe that the 2025 class is deep.
I'm just glad I got Dennis's pick for 2020.
It's all right. It's all right, Dennis. You can enjoy Matas Buzelis, and me, you, and Derek have 9 of the first 12 picks next year. So
Yeah, I'm
we're
hyped to
forming a
have
holy we're
Dennis's
forming a holy trinity to get me the 2 Rutgers guys.
If you land number 1 overall, are you still taking somebody that's not?
I'll take Bailey. I won't even. I'll take Bailey, or I'll use it I'll trade with whoever I have to get 2 and 3. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I have 1 and you have, and Derek has 2 and 3 or something, or I have 1, you have 2, and Derek has 3 or something. Like, I'll work a trade out so I get what I want and everyone else gets what they want. We're all good.
Okay. Just wanted to check. That's all. Because, I mean, the thing is, if you go 1 and you get your guy and I'm at 2, I'm going to be taking Cooper Flag. So, like, you don't even have to worry about me.
Of course.
Derek's one that I don't know what
I'll work out a 3-team deal of, like, listen, I have 1, you have 2, Derek has 3. I'll be like, listen, and then I have whatever picks. I'll be like, all right, Alex, you move up to 1, I move back to 2. You give Derek something to give me 3. It'll be a 3-team Venn diagram trade.
I see.
You walk away with Flag, I walk away with Harper and Bailey, Derek walks away with everyone else. We'll be good.
Yeah, we'll be fine. If I get Cooper Flag to go along with like Bancaro and the guys that I have, that's going to be absurd. Yeah. So I'm glad I have Dennis's pick. But yeah, so all in all, Brooklyn obviously tanking big time. McCall was the official return for McCall. So the Knicks got Bridges, Bates, Diop, a 26-second, and the draft rights to Juan Pablo Valle. And
I think that guy's retired.
Did he retire?
Yeah, I think so. I think he retired like 2 years ago.
But they still have his draft rights?
Yeah, they've had his draft rights for like 15 years. Juan Pablo,
he's 28 years old right now.
What's his name?
Juan Pablo Valle. Vaulet. He's Argentinian. Oh, wow, yeah. So he was drafted by Charlotte in the 2015 NBA draft with the 39th overall pick.
And never came over.
Then he was traded to Brooklyn for cash and a 2nd-round pick that ended up being Talon Horton-Tucker. And then he was traded to the Pacers. And then he was traded back to Brooklyn in the 14 trade that sent Kevin Durant to Phoenix.
Yeah, we ended up getting 9 first-round picks for Durant.
Yeah, that's just insane. But then you also got, so the Nets received Bogdanovich, Diakite, Shake Milton, unprotected firsts in 2025, 27, 29, and 31, and an unprotected pick swap in 28, along with a top 4 protected 2025 first-round pick from the Bucks and a 2nd-round pick also in 2025. So, yeah, that haul for Mikal Bridges is pretty insane. But the Knicks also complete the Villanova Knicks, and so we can talk about them next because we both know the Nets aren't doing anything anytime soon. They are going to have to use all those picks. So we get to the Knicks. Obviously, they had Mikal Bridges and Bates Diop. They also signed one of Bridges' best friends in campaign, who was on the Sixers. They re-signed Precious Achiuwa, OG Anunoby, Jalen Brunson agreed to a 4-year extension. Jacob Toppin returns on another 2-way deal. And they lose Bogdanovich, Alec Burks, Diakite, Hartenstein, which is the biggest loss of any of those guys that are leaving the team, and Shake Milton. Yeah, the Knicks look really good on paper. I really like Jalen Brunson. I've always liked OG Anunoby. I like Bridges. Julius Randle is, you know, a 50-50 type of guy. He could be really good. You could get the bad Julius Randle. You never know. But their most obvious weak spot is center. You have Mitchell Robinson, who is made of glass. And after him, it's like Precious Chua, who's undersized. It's Jericho Sims, who is not great, especially in NBA terms. And then you have Bates Diop would be your next center after that. So that's going to be rough for them.
Yeah, they're they have a good team, but I don't know if they have enough, and I don't know if they have enough maneuverability to get enough.
Right.
But I think Mitchell Robinson could be okay. Could be live up to the hype. I don't want to say live up to the hype. He's not a rookie anymore, but Mitchell Robinson could be enough at center for them, and they won't be hurting. But I think they're going to be a piece short.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing with Mitchell Robinson is just being healthy enough, especially when it comes to playoff time. But also, the big thing with the Knicks in their playoff run last year was their rebounding, their defensive intensity. They didn't let many things happen in the paint, and without Hartenstein, that's a lot different. And on top of that, Mitchell Robinson is always a decent defensive big man, but he's not one of the defensive big men that people are really terrified of. And if you try a small ball lineup and you throw Randall in at center, I don't think anybody is going to back down from that, because Randall on defense at center is just a joke. So there's also that. But yeah, I mean, the Knicks, they're a really good team. The offensive firepower is there. As I said, they're fifth highest odds to win the championship next season. They even, let's see. They actually have the highest odds to be a number 3 seed, according to Bovada right now. They have plus 375 to be a number 3 seed. They're actually at plus 340 to be a number 2 seed, and then plus 475 to be a number 1 seed. So they're projecting them to be very high, especially in the Eastern Conference, with teams like the Celtics and the Sixers all up there right next to them for those top 3 spots. Because then once you get to 4 and 5, you get to the Bucks and the Cavs and the Pacers at 6, the Heat at 7, Hawks at 8. So you start to get down to those teams after that.
Yeah, no, they'll definitely be a top 4 seed. I mean,
oh yeah,
it's the three teams in the Atlantic, and the Bucks are really all 4 out of the East. You're gonna have to worry about.
I agree, because the
Maybe
Cavs,
Orlando or Cleveland.
The Cavs are the Cavs. They literally stayed the same. They didn't add anybody. They didn't lose anybody. They just re-signed the guys they already got. So I don't really see them vaulting into the next tier.
Well, they might make a sign and trade with the Nets. The Nets still hold a couple guys with some value. Cam Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith. You never know. One of these teams could scoop in with a good sharpshooting wing, 3-and-D kind of guy.
But who would you want from the Cavs in that situation?
I'd want a first-round pick in Isaac Okoro.
Okay, I mean it's not a bad return, but it also doesn't. I feel like that doesn't move the needle all that much.
For who?
For Brooklyn.
Well, at this point, you're just Dorian Finney-Smith and Cam Johnson aren't going to do anything for Brooklyn. We're tanking, so you're just trying to stockpile young talent and picks.
True. I definitely agree with that aspect of it, but I also Dorian Finney-Smith I think would be the best addition for the Cavs.
Mm-hmm.
Cam Johnson is just notoriously unreliable.
Yeah.
So,
But he can get hot and win a game for you.
I mean, that's true. That's a good point. But anyway, the Sixers obviously had the most movement of the offseason because they only had 2 people under contract going into the next season. Lowry returns, KJ Martin returns, Tyrese Maxey signs a max extension, Kelly Oubre comes back on a 2-year deal. Andre Drummond joins the Sixers again on a 2-year deal. Paul George, obviously being the biggest name signing, he gets a 4-year max. Eric Gordon, he comes with a 2-year deal. Reggie Jackson was the latest of all of these. Well, actually, second latest. He agreed to a deal after getting bought out. Caleb Martin leaves the Heat and comes to the Sixers. And then the talk of the Olympics after his monster dunk on top of LeBron James, Gershon Yabusele joins the Sixers. And then departure wise, you got Nicholas Batum leaving, Mo Bamba leaving, Buddy Hield leaving, D'Anthony Melton campaign, and pour one out for B-Ball Paul. Now he has to join the Detroit Pistons.
Can you hear this?
Yes.
I was trying to play Mo Bamba.
Oh. Oh, I hear it now. They played that at the stadium every time he did something good, which wasn't often.
They play that in every stadium in college football 25. It's really annoying.
But what was your initial thought when Paul George signed with the Sixers?
It's good, but I don't know how much. I don't know how much longer he's going to be a, close to elite player. He's a good player. He's still good. Still way above average. Still, in that 88 to 92 range for if we were talking 2K ratings.
Right.
If the Sixers are going to win, this is the year. Maxey, Embiid, George, it's a good fit. He fits with any team you put him on.
Oh yeah.
That's the thing about Paul George. He could play any role. He could be the go-to guy. He could be a guy that spots up. He can, not that you're paying him to spot up, but you know what I'm saying? He could let Maxey do his thing and then spot up. So, he fits every role. He's a good player, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely. This is the best, I would say, fitting roster, especially in the starting 5, that the Sixers have had, other than the Jimmy Butler team.
Yeah,
and especially because, Paul George can pretty much play anything you need him to with his role, and on top of that, Tyrese Maxey can be your ball handler. He can be your scorer. He can do a lot of different things. Joel Embiid, we all know what he gives you. And now you add, say you don't even want to start Eric Gordon. You could even do a lengthy lineup of Maxey at the 1, George at the 2, Caleb Martin and Kelly Oubre at the 3 and 4 with Embiid at the 5. And that's a solid 5 right there. Mm-hmm. Especially lengthwise, defense and offense. And then off the bench, you got Eric Gordon, Reggie Jackson, Andre Drummond, guys who have been in the league a good bit and have played. I mean, especially with Reggie and Drummond, they've played together many years. They already have a built chemistry right there. And even Kyle Lowry with some veteran presence. Yabusele can give you some good defensive minutes and rebounds and everything. I really like top to bottom how the team has been built. My main worry when the original Paul George talk started was that they wouldn't have enough money to actually build out a full roster and be able to have solid role players. But on paper right now, I really like all the role players that they put together. It's not just a bunch of old dudes that are 34 and up. Mm-hmm. And they have a lot of switchability on the team.
Yeah, no, it's a good roster. I know I'm messing with you when I say they can't win. This is probably the best chance you got. You're not tied down to James Harden anymore, where he was like, Harden ball. You're going to play good team basketball. Can Embiid stay healthy? Can Paul George play well in the playoffs? That's the only thing that is stopping this team from winning a championship.
Right. No, for sure. And health is always going to be the biggest thing. Obviously, that's going to be the number one thing to watch for this team. So, yeah, that's just always going to be there. Some fun things that Bovada has that you can bet on right now. Obviously, you can bet on some of the awards like MVP with Luka Doncic leading that, or NBA Finals MVP even ahead of time. But I will say for Coach of the Year, right now the leaders are Ime Udoka, Taylor Jenkins, and Jamal Mosley. However, right after them, like I'm liking some of the odds for some of these other teams, like Joe Mazzulla. There's Tibbs after that. There's
Where's my guy Jody Hernandez or whatever?
He is last.
It's okay. You got nowhere to go but up. What's up,
he
brother?
Is tied at plus 20,000 with Billy Donovan and Brian Keefe. But there's also like JJ Redick is actually sixth highest.
I forgot he was a coach for a second.
I know it's weird seeing his name in for coaches. Mm-hmm. But then you got Nick Nurse, Spoelstra. They're at like the plus 1,200, plus 1,400 area. I mean, Mark Dagnall. Like these are some pretty good coaches with pretty good teams are hanging around there. That I mean, I don't hate those odds. Don't hate those odds one bit. So I don't mind it. But the Sixers, yeah, I mean, I have very high hopes. I'm trying not to get my hopes too high. So we'll see how it goes. And obviously the last team of the Atlantic is Toronto. Scotty Barnes and Emmanuel Quickley both get their max extensions, as I figured they would. Garrett Temple re-signs to a 1-year deal. I always forget that he's even still in the league. They added Bruno Fernando, who, to be honest, had some quality games when Capella and your boy Okonkwo were both hurt. And then Davion Mitchell joins via trade. They lose Mohamed Gee. They lose Jalen McDaniels. They lose Gary Trent Jr. And Sasha Vezenkov was the one. He also came in the trade with the Kings, but he was waived. And I believe he's already on his way back to EuroLeague. So his stint didn't last long. He was just last year was just his first year, wasn't it?
Yeah, he only played here 1 year.
Yeah. So I mean, I like Toronto's roster like moving forward. Obviously, they're not a competitor right now, but I like Scotty Barnes. I like Emmanuel Quickley. RJ Barrett is still. I feel like the jury's still out. We don't really know what he's going to be. And there's still a lot to see in terms of like what he can prove. But he's in his home country. He's in Toronto. He seems to really love it playing for Toronto. Davion Mitchell will probably get plenty of minutes. Bruno Fernando can at least be, a decent backup behind Pirtle. You got some pieces in there. You just need to fill it out over the next couple seasons, and I think they can be a contender. Maybe not a championship contender, but a playoff contender.
Yeah, no, they got a solid core of pieces, especially with Barnes, and Quickly, like you said, Barrett. They're like, I don't know. I would say they're probably like maybe a piece and a half, like another solid star away. But they have enough. They have enough pieces to be like something decent,
right?
I don't know if they're going to be terrible to the point of like they're going to get another, top 5 pick or something.
Yeah, I think that's the issue. Is they're going to be good enough to probably not have great odds at a high pick. Well, super high pick, I should say. So unless they just get really lucky, like the Atlanta Hawks did, just unfortunately for a bad draft, like that would be huge for them. But yeah, I agree. There's not much to be like that excited about next season for Toronto, except for just seeing your young guys grow a little bit more. So there's, I mean, that's really all that is there. But Scotty Barnes on Bovada at the moment is 7th for most improved player odds. He's at plus 2,000. The top 6 are Wemby, Evan Mobley, the Cum Bucket, Josh Giddey, Jalen Johnson, and Banchero. I'm surprised
like
Josh Giddey is so high.
Well, I feel like half those guys really can't win that award. Like, I feel like the only guy that can win that award is who was the guy you said after Mobley?
The Cum Bucket.
Yeah. Like, I feel like he's the only guy that can win that award.
For those who don't know, it's Jonathan Kuminga. I think he has a solid chance at it. I don't think Josh Giddey's going to really improve all that much. Wemby should not be able to win most improved because we know he's going to be a superstar. Like, that's not anything different. Jalen Johnson, I mean, could win most improved. He was very close to winning it this past year. Banchero being that high up there is pretty weird. Brandon Pajemski is up there too, so I mean that's not a terrible choice. Yeah. But that is it for our Atlantic Division offseason recap. I will say the one thing that I think is pretty funny right now, you can go on to Bovada right now and place a bet in all sorts of U.S. presidential election things. I'm not endorsing anybody. All I'm saying is some of these things are really funny in terms of there's one that says, what community service will Donald Trump be sentenced to? And some of it is removing graffiti, helping people to register to vote, lecturing at Harvard Business School, immigration center. So there's some funny things on here that I just think it'd be fun to bet on. But unless you have anything else, I think that is it here for us.
No, I'm good. I don't got anything else.
Cool. Well, like I said, Atlantic Files is back. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the #1 podcast on the #1 division in the NBA, brought to you by the Underdog Sports Podcast Network. We will be back on our usual nights. Should be Tuesday nights. We live stream each new episode on YouTube, and the podcast goes up on everywhere you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, all that good stuff. After the fact, usually like Wednesday, Thursday, it'll get posted. So be on the lookout for those as well. So thank you, everybody, for listening, and we will catch you guys next week. Peace.